Welcome back to the polls. Well, if you followed our election coverage, you may have noticed our unique world-class election software on our smart wall. It had the ability to aid precision analysis, and this year, we could even drill down in the elections to the poverty and Galamsey heat maps. Well, as we speak, there are 9 constituencies still in dispute, including Dom-Kwabenya. The data helped us to make sense of the contest in these constituencies based on the trends and historical numbers. The man behind that software joins me in studio now. Welcome, Tony Intiado. Tony, welcome.
Thank you.
And that was just, imagine, like when I see Evans, Raymond, and Winston by that's just the smart wall, it just gives me a lot of goosebumps, and it was a great work done. Thank you for giving us such an amazing software. But tell me, how did the magic behind all the software happen? Just pure data?
Yes, life is all about data. And for us as a company, the work we do leverages primarily on data. And so over the years, having worked with multimedia and other media houses in the past, we built a history of looking at results by results. And we need to drill much more deeper. You could actually even take the results to polling station level, but sometimes for clumsy. So, but generally, the entire application is map-based or location-driven.
Okay.
So, and once it's location, we can add any level of parameter or theme to the subject matter. So it's not just the polling station or electoral area or constituency. Everything that has to do with location can be added to it.
So how did you come by this excellent idea of adding the poverty and Galamsey heat to the map?
Yeah, like I've said, these are all contextual, can be drilled down to districts, constituency, or regional basis. So poverty, Galamsey, water distribution, land administration, school development. These are all can be grouped on that basis. But for this election, for the ones we could easily get data to, grateful to Ghana Statistical Service for the work they did on the poverty in 2015 and that of the recent census 2021. That became very available. But if there was one even in this year, we would have even used it. So as long as any data can be grouped on either district or constituency or regional basis, we could have easily even add up to that.
It would be the nice time to actually mark my bosses. How do you assess how we used the software in the smart wall?
And this year, I think multimedia was very impressive. I was just tracking across various media houses, different approaches to smart walls, some using different technologies. But the ease and the flow of the application as used by multimedia was very impressive. I mean, I think on the eve to the election and thereafter, virtually Raymond and Evans were sleeping on the thematic and the election data. Yeah. And it made a lot of sense because, again, every election comes back to economy.
Yeah.
So once you understand what affects people's pockets, it should give you a clue where the election is likely to end up.
There were 2 predominant colors on our smart wall, green and blue, very predominant. In many, there were other colors anyway, but these 2 were the very predominant ones. How did you decide to want to incorporate that? How did that idea come up?
So those colors, what we had to do was to pick out.
I can
demonstrate that.
Demonstrate, yes.
So what we decided to do was to try to represent the for the various parties, okay, various political parties. They give them a color, but look at their logo generally. So there's blue in MPP, the color combination.
Okay.
I think blue, red, and white. And NDC had a number of colors: green, black, I think white in it or so. So we looked at those colors that will not conflict. In some other cases, you have NDP, GFP with other colors. So we had to adopt one that can flow through and also allocate colors even to independent. So even in historical elections where you had independent winning, we could easily demonstrate, for example, the essence of that independent person winning. So then what it does, that it gives you an idea of, see, for example, color red.
Oh, yes.
It would have belonged to maybe PNC or some other color. So we adopted a color code for every party to be able to make a perception.
So Joe Brace almost wanted to sleep here as well. Each time it was his turn and he was on duty, he loved the colors. And this is where we coined the term Ghana's turned green, or we flipped from blue to green, and it was just amazing. And so beyond elections, what's this application good for?
There's much more that the technology behind it, and the technology I have is what is called geographic information systems. So for us, once you deploy geography, and the whole term is coming from geography. I said, geography is location.
Right.
And if you understand the principle of geography, 85% of human endeavor is around geography. So whether it's infrastructure, agriculture, as you have just done, health, infrastructure, school management, these are all geographical elements. And if you want to compare two countries, it's about comparing geography. So one is nicer, one is not, it's geography. One is cleaner, one is not, geography. So the entire technology is geographical driven. So once we have data, we can be able to simulate how Ghana can look like in the next 50 years.
Interesting.
So on that premise, for election purposes, that's what we did. But the application works across the myriad of challenges we have as a country. Land administration, agric, and I'm even to add to the previous discussion, precision agric is GIS. So in countries that have only 4 months of cultivation for the whole year, we are blessed to have almost 9 months. We have only few periods in the year where we cannot cultivate. But countries have 8 months of snow, dry, you can't do anything. They have only 4 months. Yet they're able to produce food and then send to us. How come? It's because every single square piece of land in that country, they know what crop can do well. Precision agric. So once they don't waste time. So it's not everywhere you can now want to explore to grow. Then it works. So that technology is what is driving this very application.
I think people shouldn't do boring presentations. If you want to do in Kecha like my boss Evans, this is the software you should be looking forward to. But beyond the software, beyond this application, I'd like to know more about your organization.
So as a company, even before the app itself, we did 2 series maps, and I like the team to switch the map. What we did was that we had one on Galamsey.
Okay.
So in the Galamsey one, what you saw on the election day is by virtue of the constituency. But in more specific terms, we turned the Galamsey map in this particular, what we call a story map. So if what it does is that I can scroll through the entire map, give you an idea, and most importantly, when I get to the various Galamsey towns, there's a picture that goes with it, and it pushes to give you an idea where that exact Galamsey is located. So you find them numbered.
Okay.
Okay.
And the numberings are for what?
The numbers are actually pictures. They're supposed to be pictures as I see on the screen.
Okay.
So for every single one, it tells you exactly. So then Galamsey is not a textbook issue. It's a location issue. So if you want to be able to fix anything that's environmental, it's GIS. You can't do anything about it. So we put together the entire, what do you call it, deck from Erastus's work. Then we've done also comparative, roughly satellite imagery. So every single one tells you a corresponding map where that specific incident can be found.
Interesting.
So if, for example, by name, this is Achimfo. If I switch to map 3, the map recenters to give me exactly where this incident can be found.
Wow.
So that is the power of the technology.
I mean, we can't then now say that we can't solve this Galamsey issue. Any government that is determined and very committed, if they called Tony to help them, I'm sure they will. But please tell us more about your organization, because I want the incoming government to know about your organization and at least get you to help in the fight against Galamsey.
Yeah, thank you very much. So my company, we've done some good stuff. It's not just on the GI stuff. We are very strong in ERP development. So you may be of interest to know that we are one of the companies that facilitated the automation of the judiciary. Okay. So we built systems for case management called investigative case management. Okay. So even for birth and death registry, we were involved in some part of the automation effort. So as a company, our core bread and butter is technology. And the technology are very specific. ERP and geotechnology, we fuse them. So just to give you an idea roughly, name any industry in Ghana, and I can tell you from 1 to 10 how much they need any of these two technology. So typically, the foreign companies in Ghana all run 1 or 2 of these technologies. The oil and gas companies. You cannot do oil and gas without GIS. You can't. You cannot do oil and gas without a very strong ERP, which we sell. So that is the kind of service we render.
Just to be sure, the ERP, tell me.
The ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning System.
Okay.
There are many.
Okay.
We sell the world's leading ERP.
All right. All right. But where are you located? How can anybody watching you contact you and all?
We are in East Legon on the Nisai Wulu Road, number 35. So we are adjacent. We are not far from the Mangoes restaurant, also in the same direction with A8 Hotel. So in that, once you're on that lane, you would easily find our office.
Plus, Tony is such a nice person. When he was taking us through the training, all he needs is just a can of malt, and then he can just teach you with the details. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you very much.
We've learned a thing. Thank you. But I think you have another thing too.
Yes, there was another. Wanted to show you. That was a comparative map of the performance of NDC and NPP.
All right.
Between two election years. So again, that is the power of the GIS application. So what it does is, I'm able to compare on constituency basis, and this was done for 2016-2020 election. So if you want to find how well your party did, when I swipe the bar to the right, what you are seeing is 2016 election results. When I swipe entire bar to the left, this is 2020. So we can actually also do something same for 2020 and then 2024.
Okay.
So it tells you which constituency you won in 2020 and which you lost in 2016. So for example, look at this side of Ghana.
Yes.
Then as I switch, because I've pressed, as I switch over,
the color is changing.
So it tells you if you want to do better in your election strategy. It just tells you why did you lose this particular area. And then once you have the correct answers, you don't just take the same monotonous message to all constituencies. The message ought to be tailored, because what affected one constituency may not be the same that does the other. So then your message is tailored. Then you know exactly what to do to win what constituency. So I have series of such maps. One of them, for example, also, which is an image, was in 2012, the case that went to court.
Yes.
My office actually produced complete set of maps. When there was even disputes in the court number of polling stations involved, we could easily tell the total number. When it was finally resolved, it aligned with our data. So data is everything. So again, in that number of 2012 court case, you had the incidence of, let's say, overvote. So there were two different classifications of overvote. One as made by then current Vice President Baumia. The other one is a classical overvote, where number of ballots exceeding total number of registered voters. So again, in that particular one, if I could have the image, you see we counted about 11 polling stations, because at 2012, we were privy to have mapping of polling stations done in Ghana. 2020, 2024, that data EC did not do it. So once you had polling stations, you're able to now narrow down what is the result for that polling station, and then zero that polling station specifically on the map. So what it does is, yes, thank you very much. So what it does is, you find the actual polling stations, and by analysis, we're able to tell the number of votes. They are by 11.
Okay.
This was in 2012. So we find this red one, this was happened to be somewhere in as a Mankesi.
So the PS code, you mean the polling station code?
Exactly. So once EC makes that level of data available,
right,
there's so much that can be done for analyzing why Ghanaians act the way they do. It's all about data.
Can we travel into 2028? Can you and I take a trip into 2020? Or it's too early?
It's too early to do that. But those are possibilities. So first and foremost, it's all about data. But this effort of mapping police stations ought to be an EC, should be interested to want to have a map of all police stations.
So, for example, in 2028, what are some of the services that a political party can, take from you to be able to project into 2028? So at least they want to be informed.
If you want to be very informed, so one of the things that for us, we believe that every single police station, because it's a geography issue, ought to be mapped. Now, I give a typical example. In 2012, there were a certain number of constituencies that were known as unknown constituencies. Unknown police stations. Okay? Unknown police stations. There's no police that's not known. So if it's unknown, then it's on paper, it hasn't got any ground reference. So if you map it, then if there are any police stations that are not known, you will know.
Yes.
Because there cannot be unknown police stations.
Yes.
But these are mounted on the surface of the earth, latitude and longitude. So it cannot be unknown.
Yes.
So that gives us an idea. At that election, there were about 29,000 polling stations, for example. So all of that is available. So if I switch to let's say the next image, you will see it gives the complete view of one of the classical cases. And that tells you the entire, so this is the Baume's classical definition of overvoting. What I show you is the actual textbook.
Okay.
Votes being more than registered voters. But this one was number of pages torn being more than how much was given.
And I like the color you have used because it looks like that Ghana was bleeding.
So at that point, in that particular election, we represented red for NDC. And then blue for NPP. So again, similar like I showed you, same thing. So and then the polling stations are what you find below on the green dot.
All right.
Okay, so then the other next map gives you almost like the total, that particular issue had police stations all across the country. So these are duplicated serial numbers in that particular case, for example. And every 6 small green dot you find is the actual location of the police station.
Interesting.
So the reality is that as we get advanced as a country, it will get to a point media houses would want to be collating results directly from polling stations.
Yeah.
Now, in this election, I don't know about the other parties, but I can say without a doubt, NDC and NPP, by the technology they use, they get the aggregation of their results directly from polling stations and not constituency.
Okay.
The reason why they're able to tell you we have won 2 hours, 3 hours. So, and it's coming from polling stations.
Right.
So if any media house say want to take it to that level, by virtue of 2-3 hours, if it all comes in, you have an idea of the polling stations. Now, the other benefit also looking into long term is that incidences happen around polling stations, not constituency level. So then you can actually now disaggregate on the map locations of police did that have incidents. So we could have given you, let's say, red dots. This police station had a fight. This one had a theft. This one had this particular, someone ran away with the ballot box, all by polling stations. So that's the power of the technology.
This is just so beautiful. I just know that people will just be drooling over our smart world right now. And again, I can't wait to just direct people to how they'll find you. You're located inside East Legon.
Legon, Nisai Ulu Road, number 35.
So tell me, when should we start collating to be able to project it to 2028? How much data do you need?
Well, with what we have done for 2024, building on to 2028 is all a parameter of when, let's say, notice of poll is available, knowing the candidates that are available. Once those things are out, this time around again, it came in very quite late. There was pressure for those of us doing data work.
Right.
But we wish that EC can work on that calendar. By certain times in June, July, all of this is done and dusted. Then you have time to put your data together, build a very solid application, because then there could be other stations who may not have been lucky like us, but who could have, if there was time, they would have built 1 or 2 applications that are similar. The reality is that we need to take Ghana to the next level together. one hand media, one hand technology company like us, the other hand the government agencies, i.e. EC and all of them.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, but I want you to share your final words with people as you say bye to us today.
Well, I think that for the elections, minute past election, what is very clear to us is that comparing multimedia's work as against the others, by way of the wall, there's no doubt which one is what do you call it, visibly aesthetic, that appeals to heart and soul.
Yes.
And that is what we do. And we want to encourage Ghana at large, for this new government, that there's more we can do using geotechnology. And if anything at all, the future is geotechnology.
And this is what technology does, because it really got the job done very quick and snappy. And they said, oh, this time multimedia really finished really quick and snappy. And it was Tony. Thank you so much, Tony.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for Pulse today. Thank you for watching. And there's more news if you log on to myjoyonline.com. Tony, thank you.